to the cloud, and then I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
And then we'll go through the workflow on this. So what I'm going to show you is how to use Chat PDF, something you probably never heard of, and that's okay. But it summarizes PDFs. And I found out about it from one of our colleagues who teaches at Central Arizona College in Phoenix. So what you can do, upload a PDF.
And this is AI Companion?
Yeah, it's an AI thing. You get like 3 uploads for free.
And then what happens after that?
Oh, you'll see.
Okay.
It's
And this is through Zoom,
No, this is something totally independent. I'll send you the
the link,
yeah,
chatpdf.com.
right. So then if you look at this, it summarizes this, and this is from my old department. That article I sent you that's about 100 pages
Mm-hmm.
parses it out. Kaiser engaged in coordinated scheme done lawfully. So I may
Mm.
have to make a guest appearance by Zoom or go down to the Bay Area for this. That's why I checked out, transferred to another department.
Uh,
Using addenda, doing this. Parties, United States, defendants. And of course, here are some names you'll recognize. Gloria Ann Bryant.
yeah.
And it's being used evidently a lot for students that have English as a second language, and it's helpful, right? And it kind of like just summarizes this, right? And then if you want, you can go into each of these and it'll take you to where it is.
No, so you can read it within context and in full.
It's helpful for people that struggle with reading, that are dyslexic, ADHD, all those different things. So you can go to the summary,
Uh-huh.
and here's the summary, right? Preliminary statement, all that. You could do other stuff. The prayer for relief. I always love that prayer for relief, right?
And it's so religious.
Yeah, it just warms my heart. And so this is what it does. And you can even search for stuff like my old boss is on here.
So you can search by word or
Mhm.
phrase.
Ask a question. So I'll say 2 people I've reported to are Ann Cadwell, who's probably in trouble for this. Tell me about Ann Cadwell. Okay, she's not in there very much, but Karen Graham is. Okay. I don't know why it's not doing that. It did it the other day, but anyway, all these people that are here,
Mm-hmm.
it'll parse it out. So it's helpful.
Okay.
All right. So now what I'm going to do is stop the recording.